Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coming Out Late. Tonight we have a really exciting interview. We're going to be meeting someone named Amy. And I have never met Amy before. And so I'm really excited to get to know her and get to know her story. And right now, before we start the interview, I want to say hello to a few people. Hi, Valerie Hickory Springs. I think you were the first one here, girl. Hello, Cindy. Good to see you, Cindy. Maggie Doodle. And Dottie's here, and I'd like to welcome Amy's wife, Lindsay, to the show. And Jay Marie. Hello, Jay Marie. Thank you so much for joining tonight. I really appreciate it. For those of you who have never participated in one of these interviews, I will not be welcoming members until after the interview because I don't want to interrupt the flow of the story. So my moderators tonight, it looks like, are going to be Valerie and Maggie so far, and they will be welcoming people as they come into the chat and making sure that Amy and I see any questions that are asked during the show. So I think we're ready to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Amy to you. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Welcome to Coming Out Late.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Thank you. Hi, Julie's here. Julie's here in the chat, and Valerie Chick Picker's here, and Myra's here. So I think I got another moderator. So I've got 3 moderators tonight. Welcome, Myra. So for those of you that don't know, Amy is actually the sister of Chick Picker and Sally, the Upside Down Picker. So that's how I found out about her, and she agreed to come on and be interviewed tonight, and I'm so excited. And so that would make Julie, what, your niece?
That is, yeah. Julie.
Yeah, okay. So welcome to the show, Julie. Good to see you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Amy. I told her just to go ahead and start wherever she feels comfortable starting, and I'm going to mute myself, take notes, and then at the end, I'll ask her some questions to fill in the blanks, and you're welcome to ask her questions as well. So I'm going to go ahead and mute myself, and you can go ahead and get started, okay?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm so glad that this is something that people are doing now. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. And yeah, I just wanted to start off by saying that thank you, Beth, for doing this, because I think it's a really important way to help other people that are thinking about coming out or have already come out. Maybe they're going through some stuff. I think it's really important. So happy to be a part of it. Yeah, so I guess I'll just start off by saying that I grew up in a very religious family. We would go to church probably 2-3 times a week. We never missed church. Strict Christian upbringing. Let's see. And just, I don't really have a certain age that I can remember, realizing that I was gay. I just kind of went through my life knowing that something was a little bit different. I had a lot of good little girlfriends that were into boys and liked to wear makeup, and I didn't get that. I was a tomboy. I like to do stuff that boys did. I have a younger brother, and anytime he got a new bike or any kind of toy like that, and I would get like a Barbie or something, I would just burst into tears because it was, that's not what I wanted. I wanted the toys that my brother was getting. Another thing too that I used to do was I can remember that when we would dress up to go to church or whatever, he would dress up in like a shirt and tie, and I had to wear a dress, and I would throw an absolute fit because I just wanted to wear a tie. And so I went through a little stage, luckily my mom let me do this, but I went through a little stage where I was stealing my brother's ties and wearing them to church. Probably, that was probably 6-8 years old, something like that. But I always knew I was different than my friends that were girls. And I always kind of hung out with boys. So a lot of my friends were boys too. well, like I said before, there was never really a time where there was never an aha moment where I was like, oh, I'm gay. It was just more of I guess kind of like an evolutionary kind of thing. So, I grew up in that household. As a teenager, it was kind of tricky because I was into church a lot. And so I was raised, with the belief that if you were gay, that you were going to go to hell. So I think it was in high school. I had a friend that we started hanging out, going to church together, just hanging out in school after school. And, I started to realize that it was a little different than any of my other friendships with girls that I'd had before. Sometimes we would hold hands when people weren't looking. We would have sleepovers all the time, and people would kind of, we had other friends that would stay over that would kind of look at us like, what are you guys doing? But nobody ever said anything. And I just thought it was a really close relationship because I had never had that before. And then probably around right after I graduated high school, we started getting romantic, and it was something that I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know why it was happening. But she was that way too. And, I had boyfriends that I had dated before that. But I was never really interested in anyone. I think I was just kind of doing what all of my friends were doing, what I saw my sisters doing. They were very boy crazy. So, anytime, I would have to date a boy, I hated it. I hate when they call me on the phone. I just didn't want to talk to them. And it was just very confusing for me because I didn't understand why I was not interested in them the way that like my sisters were or my friends were. So anyway, I kind of got into this relationship with someone, and I was like head over heels. First time we kissed, it was like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be like. Like, this is how it's supposed to feel to kiss someone, and you really feel like you want to. So that relationship was on and off for about 10 years. We were both closeted the entire time. It was, typical closeted lesbian relationship. We were roommates for about 10 years. And we hid, and that's how we survived. I knew that I couldn't come out to my family because of religion. I knew that her family, she probably couldn't do that either. It wasn't so much a religious thing, but they would not have accepted her. So, so we kind of had that secret relationship, which at times was very tricky because she was very close to everyone in my family. So it was just looking back on it was very odd. I don't know how anybody did not know that we were together. Just kind of embarrassing now. But anyway, so that was my first relationship, and I still was in huge denial about it because I can remember going to sleep every night and with her, next to me, and just praying to God that if he could do something to make it to where I wasn't like that, to please forgive me, and for me not to go to hell. Like, that's what I would do every single night. Probably about the first, 5 years of my 20s. That's how I lived. I was self-loathing and kind of in denial about it. And during that whole time, we had what I guess the term would be beards. We both had beards. We would both date men on and off just to seem like we were straight. So that was very tricky also. It was just very, we had to lie a lot. And for anybody that knows me, I'm not the type of person that likes to do something like that. I put myself through a lot of guilt and shame for doing anything like that. So it was really hard for me to lie, especially to, the people that were closest to me, my sisters, my brother, my mom. And at a certain point, my mom passed away from cancer, and I kind of always thought that she knew. And she wasn't as strict as my dad, so I know that she would have been okay with it. So she passed away in 2003, and I was still closeted. And I guess it was after that point. Trying to remember the timeline here. I was working at the hospital, and I had found out that she had another relationship with someone else. So I found out she had been cheating. And it was one of those things where we both knew that it was going to be over, which was like heartbreaking to me. I didn't know what I was going to do, and she was really the only person that I could ever really talk to about that, because we were the only two people that knew. So I was going through this breakup and a lot of pain with no one to talk to. And it got to a point where I thought about killing myself, only because I really didn't know how I could live my life a different way. I didn't think I had anyone to talk to. And so when I was thinking about doing that, I couldn't see my life being any different. And I told myself, it was like in the middle of the night, I was sitting there crying, and I told myself, I'm going to call my sisters, and I'm going to call my brother. And if someone picks up the phone, then I won't do it. If nobody answers, then that's going to be it. And so I believe I called both of my sisters. It was in the middle of the night, so I think everyone was asleep. And then I called my brother, and he answered. And even though I wasn't able to tell him, what was going on or why I was so upset, I was still able to talk to him, and just kind of tell him that I was having a hard time, that I needed somebody to talk to me. And it was at that point, I believe, that I moved in with my sister Sally. I needed a place to stay, so I moved in with her and her family. And shortly after that, I was able to come out to them. And it was one of those experiences where I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew that those were my sisters, and I knew that I was going to be okay. So, because since my mom had died, we all just kind of took care of each other. And so I knew that would end okay. It was scary. It was scary. I was about 27, 28, I think 28. And so, of course, I told my sisters, we're at my sister's kitchen table, and I just kind of, I was going out to parties where it was all lesbians. A lot of my friends were all lesbians. I knew pretty soon that, that's the kind of life that you can't hide from. If you're going to parties and stuff and people are seeing you out and about, it's probably gonna come out. So I went ahead, and not being in that relationship also, we always kind of held each other to that we were going to take that to the grave, both of us. And not being in that relationship anymore kind of opened the door for me to where I could say, you know what, I don't have to worry about her anymore. I can do what I want now. So I sat down with my sisters, basically, just told them I'm gay. And they were both like, yeah, what else? They knew, they had known. My sister Val, she told me actually just recently, we were talking about this, and she had a really hard time with it. She just didn't, she didn't know how to deal with it, and she didn't understand what I was going through. I don't think she had a lot of gay friends. She might have had a couple, but she just didn't know how to deal with me coming out. And so she pretty much decided to just immerse herself in the culture by going with me to my first Pride in San Francisco. And so when we did that, that was like the hugest thing for me, because for the first time I was at a place where I was surrounded by people and I was normal. And I knew that that was where I was supposed to be at. Those are my people. And I didn't feel bad about myself. I just felt like I fit right in. And my sister, like I said, we were recently talking about it, and she had told me when she looked around, she didn't see, women with other women. She didn't see men with men. She saw families. She saw people in love. She saw two moms with their kids. She saw two dads with their kids, and it completely changed her view on gay people. So we got to experience that together, which I think was a really huge thing. And they've been completely supportive this whole time, which I knew they would be that way. And then a little later on, I was working at the hospital at that time, and there was this girl at the hospital that I was a very shy person, and I would turn bright red. If somebody would embarrass me, I would just turn bright red. There's no hiding it. And she found that out and started to just she would do these little things where she would try to embarrass me in front of other people. And it was like a flirty kind of thing. And I had known her for a couple of years. I knew that she worked at the hospital. I knew she was very out. And we had actually been at a bar one time separately. And she came up to me and asked me before that, it was a few months before that. She said, "You're gay, aren't you?" And I said, "Nope, not me." And she said, "You sure?" And I said, yeah, I'm not gay. I'm, totally straight." And she was like, "All right." And, this person I'm talking about is my wife now. She thinks it's a funny story because she's like, as soon as I walked away, she told the person she was with, she's totally gay. She's totally gay. This was before I even came out. So, anyway, she's working at the hospital. I'm working at the hospital. And, I had a pager that I was carrying around. So she would call my pager sometimes, and she would tease me. She would get me to come up to the floor she was working on. And, then I would get up there and I'd say, "What do you need?" Or, "What's going on?" And thinking there was some big emergency. And she would just say, "Oh, I just wanted to see you," or "I just wanted to talk to you." And I would just turn bright red in front of all the nurses, everybody at the nurses station. And she just loved doing that. And I knew I had not come out at work yet. And I knew that if people saw me talking to her, that it was going to out me completely. Her being so out and proud herself. I mean, she didn't care. She came from an upbringing that they were very proud of who she was. She's proud of who she is. So I knew as soon as I was seen talking with her, people would know that I was gay. So, we just kind of, from then on, she just would kind of flirt with me, and she'd just do a bunch of little things. But ultimately, we started talking, we started going on our breaks together, and we went out on a date. And actually, last week was our 13-year anniversary. So we've been together for 13 years now. And they've all been exciting, and she still tries to get me to turn red. But anyway, so I've had I'm just grateful that I was able to find someone that, the way that my wife says it, the way Lindsay says it, is that she kicked me out of the closet, because there's no way that I could be around her and not be seen as gay. And it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. After that, I was able to come out to my friends at work, and there were, a few people that had a lot of questions. I think the biggest thing that people had a hard time dealing with, and I'm just speculating, is the fact that you're leading a double life for so long that you have to lie to people. And I think the lying is what it hurts people. I think that's a part of it. And so I had a lot of friends that were asking me questions. They were saying, so when this happened or this happened, you were actually with someone and you were gay? And I was like, yes, yes, yes. So a lot of those times that people weren't sure, they thought they knew me. And but I just had to reassure them I'm the same person. I'm even cooler now. I mean, you have a gay friend. That's the best thing that could ever happen. And a lot of my friends were guy friends, and I just had to, they were just like, wow. And but very supportive. And all of them also knew Lindsay because we all worked together. So from the beginning of our whole relationship, we just got so much love from people. People just cheered us on, and it's pretty much the same way now. And I had a lot of trouble in the beginning because I was used to being closeted for so long that when she wanted to hold hands in public or sit in a restaurant and maybe she would reach across for my hand or something, I had a really hard time in the beginning. It took me a long time to get over that, and I'm still not I'm just not a public affection type of person. But I've gotten to where we hold hands, and sometimes we'll get some looks or whatever, but it doesn't bother me anymore the way that it used to. I'm more confident in myself now, and the relationship I have. So all in all, if someone were to ask me that I had any regrets about being closeted for so long, or being with someone and having them cheat on me, or any of those really hard things, I had to go through in my life, I would say that I don't regret any of that, because it's brought me, full circle to the person I'm supposed to be with. So in my mind, I just think that, that was a part of my life that I had to go through. And I'm happy that it went that way, because I got to see, I got to be with someone that was my first. But then when I really met the person I was supposed to be with, I could kind of measure her against what I had before, and it's so much better. We're not closeted. Everybody knows this is, it's Amy and Lindsay. There's no Amy or Lindsay. It's Amy and Lindsay. I've never felt, better in my life. I know that this is something that's gonna last, and she's my best friend. My family loves her. And it's just, things have just turned out the best possible way that they could. So, things would have went a little bit differently, I think, if I didn't have that support from my sisters and my brother. My dad has been out of my life for quite some time now, because he's still very much, he's always been in kind of denial about it. But I am out to him. We've talked, and he knows what I'm saying, but I think he still thinks I'm going to change my mind, or something. He doesn't really acknowledge my relationship, which is hurtful at times, but he's actually starting to come around. So for the first time the other day, he's met my wife twice before, and both times he would shake her hand, but he would not look her in the eye, which is hurtful for her and hurtful for me, because I did not want her to be around him. I didn't want her to have to go through the way that he is. I didn't want him to be mean to her, and so I've protected her for quite some time, just by not being around him. Recently he dropped by. I was actually graduating from college, and he dropped by with his wife, and they sat here for probably an hour. We talked, and at the end of that, he gave me a hug, and then he leaned over and gave Lindsay like a little half hug, and that's the most that's ever happened. And I want to say that that's the start of him accepting us more. So yeah, I think sometimes for some people it's just, like that, it's okay. Other people, that takes a little time for them to accept it. Some people never will, and that's okay too. You just got to let people deal with it in their own way and be available for them to ask questions. I think a lot of people are scared sometimes because they just don't have a lot of information. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I guess that's pretty much it. My story's not over yet because, I'm out every day with my wife, and we're in love, and that's going to continue. So this is the end of my coming out story. I could say that.
If y'all can't tell, Lindsay is in the room. So Amy keeps looking over at Lindsay. So thank you so much for sharing your story, Amy. Can you tell the folks out there where you live right now?
Yeah, I live in
like what part of the country?
I live in the Central Valley in California.
Okay. And your dad lives out that way too?
Yeah,
he lives close
about
by?
20, 30 minutes away.
Mm-hmm. So there is more opportunity for you to interact. And I think it's just like you said, some people need to take really tiny baby steps. And what you saw was part of that. So that gives you hope that you can, start to heal that relationship. And it may go super slow. I know the same things happen with my eldest daughter. It's just going super slow. But every once in a while, I just see a little bit of a change, So, so guys in the chat, I'm going to open it up to questions for Amy right now. I'm going to go ahead and if you just put your questions in the chat for her, I'm going to go ahead and try to fill in some of the blanks that I had. So I'm how 41. Old are you right now, Amy?
Yeah.
41. Okay. So, what year did you graduate high school?
1997.
97. So at that time, there weren't any organizations or anything in your high school, right?
No, there was I remember that there was one guy in our high school that was gay. And I always, I always just remember feeling sorry for him because I knew that people made fun of him and I knew that people looked down on him. And there was absolutely there was nothing like that. No, I had a couple of gay friends when I was growing up. One gay friend actually, that I went to church with, and she didn't come out until later. We were probably teenagers or so, and she came out to me. But at the time, like I said, I was really heavily into church. I was going to youth group. I was doing all that kind of stuff. So I was actually one of those people that condemned other people for coming out, for being gay, because even though I knew that there was probably something like that happening with me, I didn't see it that way. It was more, I was looking through, the perspective of someone that's in the church, and you're doomed. You have no salvation unless you just, I guess, unless you just completely turn your back on it. And so yeah, I was one of those people, and I think I also kind of used that to kind of throw people off the scent a little bit, because if you made fun, or I would never make fun, but I'd say I more looked down on people that were out, that were gay, and I think I can see now as I look back on that I kind of did that so that people would not know that I was either. So there's a lot of things I realize now that I didn't realize then that I was doing, which is funny.
Could you have been a little bit envious of them?
Oh, definitely.
that they were out,
Definitely.
and and
Yeah.
so I want to bring up something that I saw going on in the chat, if you don't mind. Your story helps a lot of people right now who are gay or thinking about coming out or have come out. But I saw Kelly. Kelly is the mother of a lesbian woman, and she made a lot of comments in the chat. I don't know if you watched the chat while you were talking, that some of this really hit home to her. The things that you were saying that she never really thought about before, about the things that her daughter was going through at the time, and maybe things that she didn't notice, things that Kelly could have said to her or asked her. So this interview is also helping other people, parents of gay people, as well. And so if you were if someone came to you and said that they were thinking of coming out, Amy, is there anything that you would, any advice that you would give them, or tell them about how your life is different now, something positive about coming out? Because people are scared, even in this day and age, kids are scared to come out, right? And if you're in your 20s or up, they're really scared because, like you said, they have lied to people. They have lived a totally fake life, and they have to deal with all that and all those confrontations. Is there any advice that you would give to someone like that?
Well, I would say, and in the beginning, I was really pro, like, you got, everybody needs to come out. Everybody needs to come out. This is so great. I was just living my best life. And so in my mind, that, in the beginning, that was my opinion on it. Now I can see that people have to come out when it's okay for them to come out, when they're ready to come out. They shouldn't be pressured to come out, because it could be dangerous for them. It could be something that they shouldn't do with certain people.
Even today.
Yeah. So I would try to listen. I would try to be a person, that could provide a support to them, because like what I went through, like I said, I had no one to talk to. And I was going through these things, as a young 20-year-old, breakups and things, and, huge things that were happening in my life. I had no one. So I think it's just really important, if people just need someone to listen to them and to let them know that it's okay to wait. Even if they're being pressured or they feel pressured to come out, if they don't think it's safe to do that, that's okay. And that there's a whole community of people that will sit and listen to you and can tell you, I know it's the saying and everything, and I don't want to sound corny, but things can get better if a person does the things in the time that they need to. So I would just say, especially if it's a younger person, just because I feel like when kids are relying on their parents, that's their support, that's their place to live, that's everything. I would just say that they need to do what feels the best for them and the safest for them. And just to know that there's people out there that will love you no matter what. We have, my wife's family is very supportive. So I kind of gained another family also, through them. And they're very accepting. And also we've just gained so many friends that have become our family. So another thing that I could tell someone that is having a hard time with this is maybe to think about also, it would be hard to lose your family over this. It's really sad. It's a really sad thing that happens, but that doesn't mean that everything's over. There's friends, you have friends, there's people that become your family in this community, because we all understand what we go through and we all have our stories. And so to just remember that that won't be it for you. You can have so much more. You can make your own family. You can make whatever family you want if you need to. yeah, and I would just try to give them support and listen, because I think that's what a lot of people need right now, especially right now. Just to let them know that people love them and that they matter, and their story matters too.
Carol came in after the beginning, and she missed what you said. She wanted to know, when did you realize you were gay? Can you just answer that question one more time for the people that came in a little bit late? You did cover that.
That's hard for me because I don't have an exact moment where I realized I was gay. It was kind of more like I said, it just kind of happened over time that I was realizing that things were different for me. I don't have an exact day or a feeling or anything like that. I just remember knowing that something was different for me, but I didn't know what it was. And yeah, I don't have that. I have my age that I came out. That's pretty much it. I have certain things that I look back on now, like I said, that I can remember that they were at the time. Like, I totally would have thought I was gay. If I was watching myself, like, there were total clues that I was throwing out that, other people picked up on that I didn't even pick up on. A really great example of this is we were sitting at dinner one night. We were at this restaurant, and it was like an after church dinner. And so we had the pastor and his wife. My parents were sitting at the table. A lot of us young people were sitting at the other end of the table. And the waitress walked by, and my brother looked at me and he goes, "You were totally checking her out." He goes, "You were looking at her butt." And I was like, "No, I wasn't." And he goes, "Yeah, you were totally checking her out." And I had to come up with I didn't even know I was doing it, apparently. I had to come up with an excuse of why a woman would check out another woman that did not make me gay. So I basically said, I thought on my feet, and I said, well, some girls check out other girls because they want to make sure that they look as good as they do. So if I was looking at her butt, I was just making sure that, my butt looks better than hers. And everybody at the table was like, okay. But little things like,
the baby of the family? Are you the baby of the family? Are you the baby of the family?
No, we have a younger brother.
Okay. How did your brother, I know you called him when you were suicidal, but you didn't tell him. But when he found out, how did your brother react? Because I already know how your sisters reacted, because when I told them I was starting this channel, they're like, "Oh, you have to talk to our sister Amy. You just have to interview her." But how is he now with all this?
He, it was kind of bumpy in the beginning, because honestly, he had some, I won't go into detail, but I'll say that he had some interactions with the person I was with. So to come out to him was hard because he was kind of involved in that situation. And
yeah.
see, that's another lie. Those are lies that people, in the beginning, he was upset. I don't think as much with me, but it took him a minute to decide that he still loved me and that everything was going to be okay. He needed a minute though. And he had actually, encounters with gay men, not encounters. I don't want to say it that way. He had scenarios where he had stayed the night or been at a club and a gay man had hit on him or made a move on him. And he's a real macho guy. And so, and very straight. So he took that to offense. So he had some experiences with gay men that he did not find flattering. He's one of, he did not take to it very kindly. So, the way that he knew gay people was not in a nice way. So it did take him a minute, little longer than my sisters, but as the years kind of passed, we were okay. We were pretty close and everything. And then as the years went on and he met Lindsay, him and Lindsay became like best friends. So,
Great.
yeah, they had a lot of the same interests. Like they like to both play video games, and they're both IT people. So they would talk about computers, and that was kind of their thing. So they both just kind of became instant friends, which was really cool. So we would hang out a lot. And yeah, it just like my dad kind of, it took him a minute, especially the whole part about, because I think people have to start thinking back and thinking about all the times that you probably were lying to them. And then they want to ask you questions, and then you have to explain that stuff. And so they're finding out a lot of stuff all at once. And so I think it could be a little overwhelming. I think that's what happened with him. But at the end of the day, he's still my brother. I was still his sister. I was still the same person. And yeah, he was definitely cool with it. He just needed a minute to reframe, his experiences with gay people, and how it was very different than, me, what I was going through. So.
Yeah. For those of you who, I'm going to do it again, I'm going to put up on the screen. If you're watching this at a later time and you need someone to talk to, you can always reach out to me by email at comingoutLate@yahoo.com. I'll be glad to talk to you via email. We can even video chat on Facebook. And then my Instagram is coming.out.late. You can DM me over there. So I'll be glad to talk to you, listen. I'm always here for you guys. You know that. So Bumcrack Picker's here. I just saw that. So let's see. This is, how do you know someone is gay to ask them out? I wouldn't know. I have the worst gaydar. I had a crush on Ricky Martin, and I didn't know he was gay.
You know what? Don't feel bad about that.
Ricky Martin is gay. There were really comical comments in the chat, Amy, but I didn't want to put them up during your story and mess up the flow. But we had some really great comments. We had a comment about Brandon. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
About at least, Lindsay's not Brandon. We call him Naked Man in the reseller community. So, but
yeah.
Oh gosh, I get to ask that question all the time about that. Like, how do you know? How do you just go up to a woman and ask if they're a lesbian? I get that question all the time. And do you go out and ask people if they're straight? That's just my answer. I mean, you're either drawn to a person or you're not, and it just happens. I mean, you can't even go to a gay bar probably and say that everyone there is gay, because there are straight people that go to gay bars, so it's just that attraction. I can't explain it, but I get that from heterosexuals constantly. We had that question. Just ask Beth. Valerie had no clue that I was gay. She has zero gaydar. I just found out that about 10 minutes before the show started that a friend of mine is gay, and I have been telling Valerie for over a year that I suspected. She's like, no way in hell. And she just came out to me like 10 minutes before the show started. And I was like, I told you, neither. So Valerie, you suck at your gaydar, girl. I knew it. And I'm so happy. I'm happy that I'm not just happy that she's a lesbian. I'm happy I was right. But to show you, my gaydar is bad too, normally, because we have what we call a lesbian target in town. And so my wife and I, and by the way, my wife is probably lurking right now. So everyone say hi to Janya, please. And welcome. This is her first time. She's not in the chat, but she's probably watching as well as watching a ball game. So she's multitasking. But anyway, back to the lesbian target. We used to go to the lesbian target all the time, and I'd always have to tell her, show me where there's a lesbian couple. And she'd say 3:00. And I'd look over there. I'm like, are you sure? And she's like, yeah. And then we go down the next aisle, 2:00. Really? Yeah. Like that was kind of like my little outing to look for lesbians. I'm terrible at it. I'm getting better though. But so anyway. Yeah, I didn't see, Valerie, that you had said hello to her. So, do we have any other questions for Amy? Because I feel like I may have missed a couple. I'm not sure. I see Dee is here, flipping particles. Jennifer, if I didn't say hello to you, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt the interview. I believe I said hello to Jay Marie. So this is Amy. This is actually, I think, the most in chat we've had on the interviews, 23. So thank you all for coming and supporting Amy. Yeah, Valerie, I just like people for being nice humans. Yeah. Yeah, gay target. Yeah, it's a real thing. Well, so we call it the lesbian target. I don't know if there's any gay men there. I don't look for gay men because I'm pretty good at spotting those. But let's ask Amy questions about Sally and Valerie, like family secrets. Ooh. Now, I do know from listening to the show that Sally was completely boy crazy. And I imagine, and I think Valerie was too, but they always talk about Sally having been super boy crazy growing up. And God, I had another question for you, and I don't think I write it down. Do you remember the first person that you came out to?
I would have to say it was probably my sister. And I think we were all together when we did that.
It was who?
My sisters, Valerie and Sally. Yeah, I think I remember sitting in my sister's kitchen and coming out to both of them.
Look at that question.
Who was your favorite sister? This is trouble.
They're both in here, so I love your sisters so much, and I am so happy that you decided to come on. And by the way, this is kind of a segue. Lindsay, what was the age that Lindsay came out? You told me before. It was very young.
Okay. This is complicated because her parents always kind of knew she was gay. So she never really had to come out, except like she never had to come out to her family. She only really had to come out at like school. But she's saying like 10th grade because I think she had a crush on a girl. Yeah, and she, her family was never really a problem though, because they just accepted how she was from the beginning. That her mom just knew that she was gay. When she was, I think it was 5. She was a little baby. Her mom caught her at the next door neighbor's house with the little girl that lived there. They were out in the yard, and they had taken their clothes off.
No, we were just making out.
Or they were making out. It was something like that. Anyway, but they decided to leave their undergarments on because they didn't want to get pregnant. I remember her telling me that. But as little as probably I would say 5 or something like that, she liked girls, and that's how her mom knew her to be. And I mean, she dated men, but she never I think she dated boys, but she was always just more interested in girls. So she never really had to come out to her family. And when I met her, she was like super out.
It's like a different world. That's mind-boggling to me. So this is a segue to another part of the channel another direction that this channel is possibly going. We want to have some special interviews on coming out early. In fact, one of the things, so I would be able to hopefully interview Lindsay if she would agree to come on, and I have a couple other people that might be interested in coming out early. So that brings me to my question in the chat. Do I keep the channel named Coming Out Late, or do I change the name to just Coming Out? Because I created this specifically for those of us who came out late, because we have issues that are a little bit different, I think, different stories than those of you who came out, let's say, in high school, okay? So I'd like to know what everyone's idea is in the chat, what you think, because I want to reach as many people as possible, and I'm kind of suspecting that maybe I've hit just a small audience of people that I can help. So go ahead and put, if you have an idea in the chat, what you think it's good or bad to change it to Coming Out. But we are going to start having coming out early interviews as well as coming out late interviews. So, yeah, I just want to reach as many people as possible. And like you said, we know there are so many kids out there right now who are struggling. And I'm thinking if they see this channel coming out late, they're just going to go, because it doesn't pertain to me. So why should I watch this video? I'm not going to learn anything from it. So that's kind of my idea right now as well, changing the channel name. And I'm going to be working on some new graphics and thumbnails and things like that to get more hits. So yeah, I kind of thought that. So, and I hope, Amy, that you will also join me. We're planning on having some more, some open panel discussions on religion. We could do one on suicidal thoughts. I want to do some on families, children. I know you don't have any children, but some of us do. And talking about how the children, took it, what we're doing with the children right now. We can think of a lot of different topics to talk about. The only one I want to stay away from is politics, because that's just not going in a good direction.
Yeah.
So that would be like a 5-hour show. Speaking of shows, as soon as I close, Tom, Queen City Picker has a show coming up in about 9 minutes. I hope you will join me over there in the slide chat for Tom's show. And Valerie said, you did great, sis.
Thank you.
Yes, parents too. Two Hip Chicks said it would also be helpful for parents. So, yeah. So, Beth, maybe you need to do a bullet journal on this. What does that mean? I'm not really sure. I do have this channel in my bullet journal. For those of you who haven't seen on my other channel, Reseller Rowboat, I just uploaded a bullet journal video. I hope you will watch it. The theme was Janis Joplin, and I think there's some great content there for those of you. Even if you don't want a bullet journal, I'll give you some ideas of things that you can do to get yourself organized in your business and your personal life. So thank you again, Amy, and we're going to go ahead and close for now. And remember, you came out late, but come back again. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.